Hey friends, hello. Uh, Jose here again. Um, Today I'm here to talk about a little bit different of a subject. It's about something that I think we should all talk a little bit more about, which is a little bit in the realm of of mental health. Full disclaimer: I'm not a psychologist. As I said in the episode before, I work as a designer. So this, what I'm going to say in this video, does not is not the same thing as asking for professional advice. So if you need help in that sense, you should definitely seek professional advice. I'm here to talk about something that I find really interesting of an idea of a concept, and it goes a little bit around our mental state and our way of seeing things in life. Let me just take a sip of tea here. Yeah, so I've been thinking a lot just because, with the pandemic and now with the unfortunate war, with the, well, barbaric massacre that is going on down in Ukraine, it's pretty easy for us to fall into a different state of mind, as in we start to like question our safety. We start to question, like, when we see these things happening on TV, we get like emotionally affected by these things. And it's not to say that, like, it's not to say like that we don't need, there's no space for us to like explore these feelings. Like, it's not to say that there's no space for us to really understand what's going on inside of us, like, in regards to what we're feeling, because there's definitely something going on there, right? So it's let's say through empathy, that we feel something for another person when we see them struggling with something, right? So we empathize with them. We put ourselves in their shoes, like how would we handle the how would we blah, 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 blah. How would we handle that situation if we were to go through that ourselves? And that's empathy. When we see the Ukrainian nation just getting um, attacked, and what they're and we feel what they're going through. You know, we never did went through, for me personally, something like that. But it's definitely the case that I try to empathize with it, and we all try to empathize with it when we see it. Yeah. With that being said, just as a to touch a little bit on the subject, uh, it's definitely something that is barbaric that's been going on, and my heart goes out to all the people that has been suffering with this war. Well, I'm really thankful for the people that are being that have been helping with anything they can, with supplies, with even going there to, so bravely just encourage us and help what they can. I just wanted to address that, with all that's been going on. Um, and how does that ties into what's the theme of today? So I've been thinking a lot, like, because I've been seeing a lot of YouTubers coming up with this kind of content lately, and I've been asking myself, like, why is this like surfacing? Why are there so many of these videos are surfacing right now? Videos about, like, people coming out talking about their struggles with mental health in last year or so, because of the pandemic, because of being laid off at work, because of just, daily struggles, dealing with a lot of pressure at work, dealing with a lot of pressure socially. And it's all like, well, it's all something that we feel but we never talk about, right? But Excuse me. But I definitely think it's important to talk about, like, I, I really admire the bravery of these YouTubers that, like, I don't know if, granted they can be doing this for cloud, you never know. You can't say that, it's not something that people empathize with it, so it might generate more views. I think you can make that case, but I would say that that wouldn't be sufficient of a of evidence to to justify saying that, oh no, you're just doing this kind of video for to get this or that result for this or that. I definitely think there's something behind that. There's much deeper. There's definitely this underlying. Basically, there's a mistake for us to think that, like, mental health issues aren't to be talked about, like, and it's something that is so even becomes kind of taboo to talk about it, right? Especially in the industry of design, industry of creativity. I mean, for myself at least, that I can share. I can talk about the experience I had like a year or so ago, that was going also through this burnout. Like, I am still working and studying at the same time. So taking a college degree in design at night. During the day, I'm working as a designer, and it's it's a lot of pressure. Like, and there's also all these things going on at the same time. Like, all the things I want to contribute to my community. Just helping with youth, helping with worship band, and it becomes a lot. And if you're not just open to be, because there's this thing about you know thinking um of doing something because this something becomes part of you. This something defines you as a person. And on the other hand, there's the thinking of just doing something, knowing that you're able to do that thing, but that thing does not define you as a person. It's just something that comes out of you, um, after you understand who you are, basically. I don't know if I'm getting my point across here, but it's like, it's basically if I could say this like in just two or three words, I would say, I'll put it like this: it's the being um, versus the doing, right? So for the latter, you just know who you are. You just understand that you have your talents. You understand you have there's nothing. There's no imposter syndrome, for example. For the imposter syndrome, its definition is basically that you guys probably heard about this, but I'm probably gonna butcher this, but it's basically like the gist of it is that you feel so you're trying to be something that you think you're not. So you feel like you're feeling a position, for example, work, that you shouldn't be feeling, like, because you are not capable of filling that role or filling that position. So um it's basically a feeling of not of feeling that you're not enough. And there's a lot of that in the industry, but um I mean, no, I was talking about being that's the former, not the latter. The latter is doing. So it's it's like the total opposite. Like, you just do things, but like, you just do things because you want to be that. You know, last week I was talking about, like, just showing your work, just um doing things and putting things out there. And like, even for that, you gotta, like, put yourself in the right mindset to do it. Like, if you're trying to just put your work out there because you think people will realize, like, how good you are doing that thing, or people will finally, like, see you for who you are because of the things you do, well, that's not the case. You are who you are, independently of what you do or stop doing, what you do or not. And we should, in my thinking, we shouldn't define let the things we do define us in that sense, because there's also the case that you could also make the case that you definitely become who you are is part of like what you've done in the past. Who you are is part of like your thinking. So you're doing your thinking. They become a part of who you are, of your identity. But it's not like what identifies you, because you're so much more than the things that you have done. You're so much more than the things that you do on a daily basis. It's not just because I stop, I will stop being a designer because I stopped designing for like a week or two or a month or 6 months. Last year I was laid off. I was fired. Last year I was fired. Like after like 4 months of just grinding my ass off. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say ass on YouTube. I don't think, but I was working really hard, and I was coming from the mentality that of thinking that, well, if I work hard, this will contribute to for me to be deserving of this position, because I was basically having a career change. I was like fully committing to just UX and UI, and not and not and I was basically transitioning from web designer and slash WordPress developer kind of thing. But I don't know any code. I just in Portuguese we say martelar, which is hammering, and just hammer stuff until I got it right, and go on online forums just to see how things work. Anyways, I don't know how to program, right? So I was feeling like, hey, this is not like actually what I feel like I want to do for the rest of my life or throughout my career, or from now on in my career. So I'm gonna transition to UX UI, which is something I was really enjoyed. But like I was not feeling at the time that I was actually a UX UI designer, So I started doing it. I started like doing it and practicing it just so I could replace that feeling of not being enough, not being the thing, for not filling the position I was occupying, for not being UX. I don't know how to say this. I was feeling that like maybe I was there doing a UX design job, but I was not a UX designer for real. You know what I'm saying? So I really had I had a lot of this imposter syndrome kind of thing going on. It was really tiresome because like I was basing what I did was based on the premise that I should do something, because that will prove to me and to others that I should be that I'm enough, that I'm worth this position, that I'm worth, even became to the point that started defining the person that I was, like at the core. So if I did this, I would be valuable as a person. Like and I'm serious about this, because like if you think about it, like I'm not trying to dramatize things or anything. Is only that just we think about things in a certain way that it becomes a little bit shallow, and we just see things at the surface. But like if you go a little bit deeper, if you dig a little bit deeper, and we just dive a little deeper and see where things are coming from, we can very clearly see what's going on behind all this, what takes effect in our lives. And just to finish that point, I was doing because I was trying to do these things to prove myself and to others that I was worth that position or worth as a person, which is was not, valuable for me, not for and not for anybody. We may think like in this kind of hustle culture, toxic hustle culture. We may think like in this toxic hustle culture that goes on in our society that we should just be hustling and hustling and just uh just work ourselves to the bone and and why is that? Why do we work ourselves to the bone, right? And I will argue that it's just this lie that is put in our heads that we should become valuable human beings because of the things we do. When the contrary is the case, we are already valuable as human beings, like no matter what we do. We have this intrinsic value, as I was talking about last week, of from just being human beings. It's not and that's a very nuanced point, right? You could say, oh yeah, Zeb, but like there's people that do a lot of wrong in this world, so like what we should do with them? Like, are they still as valuable as a human child, as valuable as a child, as valuable as like an innocent infant. And that's a very good point. Like you could argue that like we just because we do bad things, we stop being valuable because, well, you did a lot of bad things, and now I won't value as much. But what does that really indicate of our way of perceiving things? I understand where that's coming from, but like the basis or the premise behind that thought just means that no matter what we do, we will never be enough, because there's no body that can like live without flaws. You could say that there's no one that has lived that has not done any evil, that has not done any wrong. So in that line of thought, you could say that nobody that lives is worthy of you saying, oh, you are, as a human being, you have value, just because of that same premise. I'm not saying that you cannot reprehend someone for doing something wrong, and you should. And that's like how, like, there's this intrinsic we all have this intrinsic morality in us that said that just it's like the Spider-Man's like Peter Tingle kind of thing. We just know there's something wrong with something that someone's doing, or the differentiation between the art and the and the is differentiate the art from it. Oh, well, how is it the art from the is. um Sorry, let me just I don't think I think kabelization. Yeah, how do you differentiate the art from an is, right? Yeah, that's the intrinsic moral compass we all have in ourselves. We all have that decision we can make, like to do wrong or to do good. But like that does not take from us the intrinsic value we have from the moment we're born. Even the most evil human beings in this world were children at some point. We're just innocent children. And I don't want to continue digging on that because that's a very nuanced point, and it just goes deeper and deeper. But yeah, just reflect on that human of that basic premise. Like if you base there are no answers to that point, but if you base your argument on the fact that you're only worthy if you do things right, then nobody's worthy of anything, right? because we all do things that are wrong at some point in our lives. Now you could say like, oh yeah, you can have a balance, on one plate you have the good things you do, and the other plate you have the bad things you do. Well, you can go and try to live like that, but like I would say that that wouldn't be as productive as just you thinking, I am valuable, I am a human being that has like intrinsic value no matter what I do. So like from this position, what I'm going to do is just I'm gonna spread that, spread the love, spread the light, spread the thing, the way I see myself, and see other people like I do myself, and like treat them the same way. If I treat myself like as thinking, well, hey man, like I do stuff wrong sometimes. Other times I do stuff right, but there's other times I just can't control myself. I just can't control my anger. I just can't control, being upset about something. I make mistakes. So this person that's making that like um this person also makes mistakes, and that person also makes mistakes. So bring back to the point of, it's all very nuanced, but like if I were to put this very very practically, bringing back to the genesis of my point, which is like about being a UX designer and filling that position. You know, I have to, or rather, I would prefer to, because I've learned that the other way is not the way to go. I would prefer to, firstly understand that, like, hey, I am a UX designer, UX UI designer. So I'm gonna do things that UX UI designers do. And well, as any human being, as any person, I'm gonna make a lot of mistakes. I'm gonna make a whole bunch of them, but I'm gonna learn from them. I want to learn from them because I want to be more of a UX designer, more and more of a UX designer, because I am already. But like, I'm practicing this. But first, you gotta like, we have to accept, like, that we are. Then we will do. I had this conversation a lot of times with a very good friend of mine. Um, it always brings it back to this point. Like, he says to me, "Yeah, Zed, like, um, we all have this problem of thinking that we have to do to be, right? So I have to do all these wireframes. I have to do all this, case studies, all this documentation, and like put it all together like really neatly, pixel perfect design and this hi-fi prototypes, and yeah, it's got to be like really interactive, and I gotta do all these user tests, and like you know the amount of stress that comes from that is just crazy. I remember I was thinking like that when I was going through this um really really hard time. I came to a point which when I was just like, what's the use of this? Like, what I'm doing, what why am I doing all this? Why am I doing any of this? Like, and do you know what brought me to that thinking was the fact that I was fired. No. So imagine this. I'm doing all these things because I want to prove myself and to others that I am something. And then they take that from me and they say, hey, you're not going to do this anymore. So they fire me. Now, I'm not doing these things anymore. I'm not doing the things I thought I had to do to become UX designer. So is there anything left? There's nothing left, right? If you're not able to do the things you have to do to become the person you want to become, you cannot become that person, right? That's logical. But there's a way that, there's no reason to think that you have to do anything to become something. Just like I said, because it's just not a reliable strategy. Basically, if you think about it, just not as reliable as it's not as reliable as it's not as reliable of a strategy. So the alternative is, um, you think about just being, you know, and everything that you do will come from that. So you realize that, oh, okay, I am a UX UI designer. So, or some other type of designer, right? Um, I just don't want to bring this to nuance point and just bring it down with a solid example, so you understand what my point is. Ah, I'm sorry. I think I'm running out of battery. Let me just finish my point here. Yes, you don't want to like think about trying to do something to be, because you won't be always be able to do that something. So when you're not doing that thing, you stop being who you think you are. You stop being who you aiming to be, or who you are. I just want to talk. I just wanted to talk about this a little bit because something has been going on in my mind a little bit, and if I'm using this medium as a kind of my idea notes. What am I saying? If I'm using this as my Zettelkasten, where I just store my thoughts and store my not exactly my feelings, but like some feelings. Some thoughts have some feelings associated to them, but specifically like just having my thoughts stored, and just I will probably be looking back at this in the future and just realize how, I don't know how wrong I was. I don't know, but like my way of thinking in this time. Um, Wanted to explore that a little bit and share that a little bit with you. Um, I really say that like our value is intrinsic to us. Is intrinsic to ourselves. We just have to realize that like we're all human. We make a lot of mistakes. We fall down, but all in all is not the things we do specifically, because then if you try and change, you will always think of yourself as that person you were in the past. You won't see like past through that. You always see yourself as that person. um of you always have that image of yourself that's just um that is deterred, that is what's the word I'm looking for, that you're always looking for that um image of yourself that is not the most reliable representation of yourself, which sometimes is the most negative perception that we have about ourselves. Because you know I don't know about you, but like I have this feeling that the perception we have about things, it's very easily something that is worse than what it actually is. Pessimism, realism. You could think about it as you want, but having this perception of yourself that like aims to being a better version of yourself, even that aims to not looking at your past wrongdoings, but looking at like what you can do, what like with you understanding, with your renewed understanding of who you are, renewed understanding of um that what you've done is maybe not part of yourself anymore. is something that is really important, for a change to take place, right? Yeah, like I look at myself like at that point, like a year or so ago, and it was pretty hard, like for me to just sustain myself on that idea, on the idea of the fact that I was a web designer. Like this is a perfect example, I think. So I was thinking, hey, no, but like I'm a web designer, but I'm doing UX UI designer things. So the perception I had of myself was not like renewed. I did not I did not had a new understanding of who I was, and what my real identity was. So I was thinking, still as a web designer, and doing things and trying to do things that are not of a web designer, but of a UX designer. Instead of thinking, hey, like I did stuff that a web designer would do, because I definitely was. That was my identity, kind of, in the job market at least, in the past. But now this is not my identity. My identity is a new one. My identity is of a UX designer. Aston Kleon, I was referencing him a lot in the last video, but he said, like, in one of his books, he probably took this quote for someone else. I hope. He said, as I am doing right now, you fake until you make it. And in my understanding, what that means is like, hey, you just realize that you are that thing you're trying to be first, and you just go for it. You just you know fail miserably at trying to do something that you really believe in. Instead of very accurately succeeding at being something that you do not believe you are. Um, so yeah, just keep on doing the things that drive you, that you love. That's my take from this. And coming from the premise, the thinking behind it, that ought to be for you to grow better, is the fact that is the one that you understand, where you understand that, hey, you first of all, you are that person, you are that UX designer, you are that video editor, you are that actor, actress, you are that you think of who you are. That even applies to negative things, like if you think of yourself badly, well, you're gonna probably work towards that, fulfilling that perception that you have of yourself. If you think of yourself as someone that is shy, even though you are, you may not be. If you think of, I'm not saying being shy is a bad thing. Personally, be shy myself, but like, if you think about yourself as, just think of if you think about yourself as not being valuable, it's not being worth of anything, of just, such a, bad person. I suck so much. Like, why would anybody like me or anything like that? You are probably gonna act like that is your reality. So it's more likely that you would act like towards that if you're thinking like that. And the same applies the other way around. So if you think about yourself as a designer, think about yourself as a person that is, lovable, as a person that that's good, you are going to be that person. All your actions going to work towards that, or at least you're going to work more intention with those thoughts. Yeah, but maybe that's a good topic for conversation, for or at least to explore. It's a good topic to explore in the future. maybe in an Zettelkasten episode, Zastelkasten episode, to try to think like, hey, but like, what about in those situations where we think um, about, you know, how is it that what we do affects who we are? Maybe it's a good topic of conversation. Maybe it's a good topic for us to explore next time, some other time. But yeah, that's um. I want to thank you once again, like for watching this till the end. And I see you later. Bye.